Connecting a display. Connecting the display to the Raspberry Pi board is considered as one of the fundamental steps in setting up the entire system. Even if the display that you will use with the computer board is relatively small, this may consume a considerable amount of power. The Raspberry Pi board typically uses power equivalent to 5 volts. Other than this main power source, the system may need to use up more power for your display. In this case, you may have to use a 12-volt power source. Compared to its counterparts, this can help you minimize the amount of energy consumption for all the systems that will utilize the display function. Initially, you need to identify 2 inputs for the display. These are typically referred to as AV1 and AV2. Because some of the display connections only require 1 input, you may need to cut off one of the leads to make the connection more stable. Making the connection more stable can eliminate the risks of having discrepancies in the video output. Also, this can significantly increase the chances of having better sound quality for the output. Next, you need to glue the control board at the rear part of the display. This can help make a single display circuit. After this, you need to place the leads to the screw terminals. To help prevent problems while the program is operating, you have to secure the connections by tightening them against the video jack. For the power supply, you have to remember that the red lead corresponds to A+ connection. In this regard, you have to use a regular DC power supply to prevent excessive power influx and inconsistencies. In the long run, this can not only promote better sound quality, but a safe power flow for the entire system. Connecting audio. Raspberry Pi can help set up the entire system for low latency and real-time audio experience for you. In this regard, you may need to tweak the system to make this possible. In powering the RPI for the audio system, you may encounter spontaneous rebooting when you plug or unplug the USB devices from their corresponding ports. You may get rid of this inconvenience by backfeeding the power RPI. To do this, you have to connect the main power supply to your preferred USB ports. You may also use the powered USB hub that can readily enable backfeeding without any problems. In relation to this, frequency scaling for the RPI is also important to equalize the audio quality for the Raspberry Pi. To do this, you need to set the governor to performance. While you are at it, you need to keep in mind that the scaling central processing unit can cause some audio-related glitches. As for the services, you need not disable them. All you have to do is to arrange an environment with a low latency level and real-time quality. Specifically, you need to write an appropriate script and break this down into manageable components. If you have trouble composing the entire script, you may ask someone else to do the job for you. External device. If properly configured, you can readily identify if the external device that you are currently using with the computer board is class compliant. The specifications of the interface will tell you that you will not need the drivers when you are using Windows or Mac as your operating systems. If you are not sure that the configuration matches your system, you have to check out the several listings for the supported interfaces that you can apply. Connecting keyboard and mouse. For the first few steps of the procedure, you need not perform the connection methods in order. However, for the power source phase, you always have to perform this last. An optional phase is to hook in the Ethernet cable to the main port. Because you may not need to work online at all times, this is not always warranted. You need to fit the SD card. When doing this, you have to keep the gold connections on the top part of the connection to enable them. You have to connect the following components to the main system: the screen that uses the HDMI cable, the hardware mouse and keyboard. The last part is to connect the USB power cable to the main port. While doing this, you have to activate the Raspberry Pi. If you do not perform this last, the system will not recognize the previous methods that you performed. Therefore, you may have to perform the setup phase all over again.